Hello, welcome to Comics Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about my top 9 other superheroes. So the rules for this list are, I'm going to be talking about my favorite heroes. I'm not going to talk about anyone from Marvel or DC, and I can choose either individuals or teams. And with each entry, I'm going to talk about one really great moment that makes me love that character. So let's get started. Number 9 is Savage Dragon. And as is often the case with Savage Dragon, the great thing I'm going to be talking about mostly has to do with some really great ideas and concepts, more so than anything else. So in the storyline, Emperor Dragon, the dragon realizes that where he really comes from is he's from another civilization out in space, where he was this big dick tater who was really cruel, and people got sick of him. They mind wiped him and dropped him on Earth. And so, in this storyline, he gets all of his memories back and becomes evil. And ultimately, he fights himself and comes out a hero. But the really interesting part is the payoff. There's a lot of ways that this book handles things better than other comics. One example is Dragon's son actually growing up. Here's another. After all the chaos that he causes, there's consequences for it. He is arrested and processed. And that's a wonderful way to kind of wrap up his own story and pass it along to his son Malcolm. Number 8 is Captain Canuck. Captain Canuck is possibly the greatest Canadian-themed superhero. And he's very much a parody of Captain America. But the thing is, he's really cool. And the greatest moment for him is every single moment where they just weave in little Canadian references. You know, this book's very well done in the fact that they don't let you forget that they're Canadian. Things like characters using French phrases, or if they eat, maybe they'll be eating poutine or beaver tail. A lot of the characters tend to be super polite. It's a really nice touch. It's pretty funny, but it's not at the expense of Canadians, so all the characters get to still be really cool. And that's what's great about this character in this series. Number 7 is Cyberforce. Cyberforce is really cool. They have all the best members on this team. You have Velocity, Ripclaw, Aphrodite, Ballistic. And my favorite moment of Cyberforce is everything since Rebirth. You see, in this series, getting to restart and be told from the beginning, the payoff really comes in that all the elements of sci-fi, futurism, fears about what technology in the future might bring, those kinds of worries are a lot more at hand than they were back in the 90s when this book was first made. So the retelling of it enables a much more accurate depiction of how science is probably going to fuck us all. Number 6 is Sho Fukumachi from Guyver, the Bio-Boosted Armor. And the really great moment with him is when he fights with Enzyme, because Enzyme is a particularly difficult enemy. He's big, strong, and has very acidic blood. So as Sho's fighting him, every time he wounds Enzyme, he gets hurt, and Sho doesn't back down. But ultimately, when he kills Enzyme, splashes blood all over him. His whole body dissolves. But shortly after, the single piece of the Guyver unit that's left reforms its entire body, and he just keeps going. And what's great about that is the way it mirrors his personality. The Sho is committed and is never going to give up, and the Guyver enables him to keep going. Number 5 is Hellboy. And my favorite, greatest moment of Hellboy is those movies. Those movies are so great. And aside from that, they're pretty different from the comic books. The comic books have overwhelming style. It's just dark, gothic, horror. You know, it's palpable. And the movies don't capture all of that, but the style they do carry is also great. So this is a really unique thing in that the movie is so different from the comic books, but they're just two different kinds of awesome. Number 4, Son Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. And I almost put Goku in this spot. I have talked about Goku a few times recently, but ultimately I decided to instead put his son Gohan in this spot. Because I was thinking, after watching Resurrection of F, Goku was really cool in that movie, yeah. But in contrast, Gohan really wasn't, and that upset me. Because seeing a Gohan that's out of shape and weaker and isn't able to keep up with Goku and Vegeta, It upsets me because it's the opposite of my favorite moment, which is when he fights Majin Buu. So, the lead up to this, Majin Buu's released. The heroes try to stop him. He fights everyone, and no one is as powerful as Buu. And just when there's really no one left to face him, Gohan returns, more powerful than ever, and he beats the absolute shit out of Buu, and is the only one to do that. And yeah, I would have preferred it had Gohan actually been the one to kill Buu, but even later when Goku does finish him off, it's not because he's stronger, it's because they find a way to weaken Buu, meaning that Gohan's position as the strongest of the heroes, it lasts all the way until the original end of the series. Number 3 is Invincible, the character Invincible. Mark Grayson grows up the son of Omni-Man, the most powerful superhero in the world. And as a teenager, his own powers start to develop. And so there's this period where he has fun with those superpowers. He runs out, stops bad guys, and helps people, and bonds with his father. And it's all really nice, and then it comes to a screeching halt in my favorite Invincible moment. And that's when his dad comes clean with him about his true intention. And so what we find out is that Omni-Man came from his home planet as an invader. That he's just insinuating himself into the human population, and he's going to take us over and kill anyone that stands in his way. And what's great about Mark's reaction to this is it defies expectations. I was looking for a moral struggle, him having to decide if he's going to stand with his dad or disobey him, but it actually went in a much cooler direction than I thought it would. He hears this story and he won't tolerate it for even a second. He rushes right at his dad to fight him, knowing that he's taken on a much stronger opponent. And he gets wrecked, but he does it for what he truly and genuinely believes in. And I respect that. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And their great moment is not the Michael Bay movie. No, if I had to say a specific thing, I would say Turtles in Time. Love that game. Grab some friends, let me be Raphael. Cowabunga, dude! But I'd also like to say that my favorite thing about the Turtles is their pop culture immortality. They started off as a kind of comedic take on popular comics at the time, even resulting from the same accident that gave Daredevil his radar sense. But the most incredible thing is that now they've continued on 3 different cartoon series, 2 film series, a live rock and roll stage show tour. Ridiculousness. And the thing is, it's timed so that there's no lulls in it. As soon as one thing ends, another begins. Even the Michael Bay movie was stepping on the toes of the Nickelodeon series. And when a series so much refuses to die or even just step out of the spotlight for a second, you got something special. And number 1, as you might have guessed, is Witchblade. And my awesome Witchblade moment is special in that it applies to 2 different Witchblade bearers, and that is Witchblade War. And this starts off when Sarah attempts to give the Witchblade to Danielle Baptiste. But ultimately what happens is the Witchblade splits, and so they each have half of it. And as time goes on, we see that the half that Sarah has is the dark aspect, and it starts to affect her behavior. And that gets more and more extreme until she's uncontrollable and trying to kill her own loved ones. And the 2 interwoven cool moments here are that we get to see Sarah's complete mastery over the Witchblade. She's so powerful. But at the same time, in the face of that, Danny still chooses to face her and is just standing up to the stronger opponent and trying to save her friend. And her courage here actually draws the attention of the Angelus. And it not only chooses Danny to be its next host, but she's the first host that gets to keep their consciousness. It's not a straight up possession, but just an empowerment. It's time for the last entry on this list. Number -1. The one that can just go fuck itself. That's Spawn. Now don't get me wrong, I don't mean to overstate this. I don't hate Spawn. The opposite. I love Spawn. But Spawn's got this coming. Spawn is the prime example of a disparity between quality and popularity. Like, over the years picked up an odd copy of Spawn here and there pretty consistently. And I've always liked it, but there's nothing in Spawn that should make him the most popular indie hero. Spot would more appropriately belong to like Savage Dragon or Invincible. And so I say, Spawn's pretty overrated. So what have we learned? Indie comic superheroes have one particular edge over the mainstream guys. And that is, they just seem to be more comfortable, self-parody. And they're not afraid to try new things, do whatever. Because they're not as burdened and bogged down with trying to keep with a certain universe or history of storytelling. And with that freedom comes some real greatness. But that's it for this week. And so now it's time for the viewer question of the week, which is, what's your favorite iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? For me, it's the original movie series. Sure, the third one was bad, the second one had its weak points. Oh, but that first one is what really made me fall in love with TMNT. Turtles in a half shell, turtle power. Anyway, favorite version of Ninja Turtles? Leave it down in the comments, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and come back next time for the next episode of Comics Tuesday. And on the next episode of Comics Tuesday, how well does Matt Hawkins really understand the science and think tank? Thanks for watching.